So one of the things I like to do before I actually start assembling a kit is plan out what I'm going to do. I've read through the manual. It's a pretty straightforward build. One thing to notice here is the PCB is really thick. Thick enough that I don't honestly know if the... Oops, those are 24s. If the pins of a solder tail socket just barely poke through. There's enough there to allow soldering, but they just barely reach. But the thing I have noticed looking at the sockets this came with is they are single wipe sockets. They are about as cheap as you can get. So single wipe means that when the IC leg goes down into the socket, in case we've got this ROM here, goes down in, there's only metal on the inside here. There isn't a U kind of cup that the pin goes into, so it's only making contact on the inside of the pins. A double wipe socket will have, if you look down into the hole, metal on both sides, and the pin goes down between those two sides and gets contacted on the front and the inside of the pin. These are single wipe sockets. They're cheap, they're unreliable. I wouldn't use these. Honestly, these probably head for the trash. They're not worth accidentally using, just because they will run into long-term reliability problems. So I could certainly go with double wipe sockets. I've got plenty of them here. I could do the whole board in double wipe, just no problem. The other thing I am considering, however, are wire wrap sockets. There's a reason for that. So the board, by their design, has nylon standoffs all over the backside that are about an inch high, and it would sit up off the work surface about an inch. And if I was to go with wrap sockets, let's see if I can get one to insert here. They stand a little bit proud on the board, a little bit high, but that's okay. But what they give me are the pins underneath. And what that would allow me to do is potentially make wiring changes on the back of the board. I could cut traces, I could use wrap wire, and I've got easy access to every pin because there's a wire wrap post kind of poking through. And if we take a look at the nylon standoffs that it comes with, although nothing says I have to use these standoffs, because the nylon on these is so faded and yellow, I will replace these with new standoffs. If I can get this to open, it's the first time it's been opened in 50 years. These standoffs would be everywhere, and there's plenty of height difference here. So if we look at the pins and the height, there's plenty of room, and that would just give me that array of pins on the backside to be able to wire wrap to if I ever needed to. I have plenty of wrap sockets to do this with. The holes on the PCB are just large enough to allow this. Wrap sockets can be challenging to get lined up and in place. See, they're a little bit tight to get down flush. But like I said, this just creates endless options on the back side of the board. These are high quality wrap sockets. They're double wipe, so they contact both the outside and the inside of the pins when the component's installed. The S100 edge connectors I plan to put in here are also wire wrap, so they would have the pins in place. And I did some reading on it, and according to what I read, only about 45 of the 100 pins are actually implemented on the board. So this is certainly not a full S100 compatible edge connector. They're bringing out more like the address and the data and the basic control signals. They have a marked on the side over here, I think, are about all that's brought out onto the edge connector. But that's enough. For like an S100 static RAM card, that would probably be enough for it to operate. Those kind of things. So, I think that makes sense. I kind of like that. Let me see if I can find quickly one of the S100 card edge connectors that I intend to use. I think they're in this box. Yes. So this box would be the S100 card edge connectors. I bought a whole, I think these are the ones. This has got some old ones in here as well. Yeah, these are the ones I plan to use. I think they're the right spacing. I bought way back before S100 become like the hot thing to be building. I got a box of, I don't remember how many was in here, 25 maybe of these for $15 or $20 with shipping. It was really pretty cheap. So assuming, and it is the right width, that's really nice. Let's see if I can get it to line up. What pin are you not happy with? There you go. So that'll sit in there just fine like that. And again, it gives me a nice full set of wrap pins underneath here. That'll make it really easy to get to these. If I was using the proto socket or the proto area out here, again, I would be putting in wrap sockets. And again, that gives me, I'm able to wire wrap rather than point-to-point wire back here if I actually do any kind of custom stuff out here. So, you know, I really like this. I think the wrap sockets are going to be the way to go. I know for everything on here, I have potentially enough wrap sockets. I don't seem to have a 28 pin in this style. I have a 28 pin that's a low profile and machine pin. And that would be another option here, is to go with machine pin wrap sockets. They're expensive. But I think I'm better off to find a 28 pin machine pin wrap socket. The LEDs, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 18 pin, 600 mil, 3, 6, 9, yeah, 18 pin, 600 mil parts. That's kind of an unusual size. It's kind of weird to me too, the keypad's down here and the displays are all the way up at the top here. I would have expected the displays to be closer to the keyboard. I think that's kind of a design fail on whoever laid the board out, but it is what it is. I don't know. I kind of look forward to hearing your opinion. You know, I can see me putting wrap pins in all of these holes here as well. And that way on the back side of the board, although they're not labeled back here, I would again have wrap positions that I could wire wrap to. That just gives me the most versatility, honestly. So I think we've definitely decided that the original sockets it came with are out, just because they are as inexpensive as possible, single wipe sockets. See if I can get a pin on one of these to pop out. No. No, it's wrapped, but they really are single wipe. The early sockets were single wipe, a lot of them. And just reliability issues. You know, and I don't want reliability issues. I want to be able to put this on the shelf and then come back in 5 years with a project and apply power and have it run and not have a bunch of loose connections or oxidized connections. But there it is. We've started to plan out how we're going to assemble it. I'm going to get some high-res scans of the board itself, a decent picture, and I want to start to mark up jumpers, how things get jumpered. There's A, B, and G here. I know there's a couple places where there's jumpers, I believe, on the board to be set up. These probably have to do with the EEPROM selection type. 2708, 2716, 2758. I know there's some jumpers that can pick which EEPROMs you're using. I may look for a better way to get power onto the board. And it's interesting, the plus 25 for the EEPROM programmer is just this big old hole down here. Almost large enough for maybe a banana plug to plug down into. But I think that's it. I think that's everything I wanted to cover in this video at this point. Kind of, starting to think about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Giving myself the most versatility. I don't mind customizing this. Like with the use of wrap sockets, I don't mind doing that at all. It's something I would have quite potentially done back in the day had I had the wrap sockets, just because of the added versatility. Oops, it would help if I actually... I know it comes with 1K. I think I've got some 2102s in my parts, or I can expand this to 2K, or I could just disable this memory here completely. And I'm assuming these are laid out on 300s and 600s, and they are. I could potentially use a more modern, like a 28 256, 25 256, whatever it is, 32K by 8 SRAM could just be put in over here, a bit of decoding logic, and really bump the memory footprint up. And that might have been something I'd have done with this later on as those parts become more available. Or even an S100 card, with static RAM. I have a couple cards with static RAM on them that would potentially work on here. Well, I've said it a couple times. I'm going to actually wrap it up at this point. I will wrap this one up, and I'll see you in a future video.